Governor, how are you? Good morning. Good morning. Hello. Morning. Very good.
Locally made medicines was readily available in a short time. When we have
In front of you, we see that the agricultural sector bestows us with a great opportunity to be able to go.
20% of livestock in the world is in Africa. That's one.
We talk about India, we talk about Bangladesh, hypertension, diabetes, all these are increasing business, which means obvious dollars to business.
For precise one item example, as a country local manufacturing, demonstrating right
Sector through this one incremental opportunity of affordable housing. Thank you very much.
Giving big picture about some of the panelists, Linus has mentioned access to finance, operational efficiency, and 10 of them became the best. Some of them, the ease of doing business from 136 in 2014-2015, DR called $50 million. Your Excellency, may I now invite the chairman.
And this is what, as a manufacturing fraternity, we wish to turn. Manufacturing contributes nearly 30% towards the decisions. On the other hand, reliability gives the investment community. Heard how passionate you are about growing exports. To find solutions that would enhance hunger and subsequently lower the cost of living.
I just want to promise you one thing, that this administration will work with you every step of the way. Nobody has the monopoly of good ideas, sharing those ideas and making sure that we move together as a country. We have a market.
Thank you very much, Tesh. Your Excellency.
It helps. You tell you where it helps. You reason up and together.
The second one, kindly don't just move just yet. The third award, congratulations. Collections, Jedio Collections, quickly. Runners up is Mark Dave Holdings. Mark Dave. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Na sasa niombe ukiwa hapo mheshimiwa.
Your Excellency, today our construction industry consumes about 200,000 jobs, but just with the implementation of the affordable housing pillar, we have the potential to create an additional 500,000 jobs just from this one pillar. And this is not just, going to affect the building and construction sector, but Your Excellency, we will be creating a new population that has disposable income, that will pay taxes, that will eat the food from the agricultural farms, that will use the borders, and singularly, this is the one sector that can unlock the opportunities in the economy. At an average of 60 square meter per unit of affordable housing, using only a construction cost of 40,000 Kenya shillings, knowing that today the construction cost is anywhere about at around 60,000 shillings per square meter, Your Excellency, we have an opportunity to generate 600 billion shillings to the economy with this one project. And this is excluding the income and revenue that will be generated by the manufacturers as their capacity utilization increases and that they're able to now go into the export market. This is just incremental as a result of the affordable housing pillar. Out of this, 180 billion shillings is likely to go to the fundis, the contractors that are local players in our industry. And if we look at materials complement, this is about 420 billion shillings. Out of this, if you assume 70% goes into local manufacturing, 250 billion shillings will go into local manufacturing of building products. Another 170 billion shillings will go into imported products, which are businesses that are run by SMEs and MSMEs. And I am saying this as one who has actually gone through this journey. And ultimately, we'll find that at an average, 500,000 jobs will be created using all the linkages that you can see there. We will be able to impact on the fundis, we'll be able to impact on the value chains of business, our retailers, these are our hardware stores, these are all the retailers and distributors. We'll be able to create direct jobs within the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, and ultimately, Your Excellency, I believe that just unlocking this one initiative is going to impact on all the pillars of the Kenya Kwanza initiative.
I look at tea as a value-added cash crop. This cash crop gives us an exchange earning of about 23% of what we get as a nation. A production of 540,000 tons, 130 billion shillings in terms of revenue. But of this, only 5% is value-added. That's it. How do we move from a 5% to a 50% as a nation? That's where we get the dollar down to our farmers. Okay? For us as an industry, as manufacturers, to be able to see that instead of exporting the raw material out there, we actually value add and be able to take it to the market. That in itself just loads $12 extra per kg to the consumer. Thinking about my mother, man, an extra 1,200 bob per kg, you know, it's an extra kid in school. What do we need to do as a sector to be able to increase this from that paltry 5% to a 50%? Is a brainstorm that we need to have as an agribusiness sector to be able to close this gap. And we definitely promise to be part of the food security. Now, as I conclude, if you look at the graph on the far side, the production in terms of volume has always been almost consistent. But the key thing here now is, I was reading or discussing some things with some people from Rwanda, and where they beat us, they don't have the volume, but they have the quality, which tends to fetch a higher dollar. So the question now, we shift now from volume, we've got the volume. How do we now fetch even higher dollar through an increase in the quality of the tea? So those are the discussions that we'll have as an entity, as a sector, to be able to see that we improve and add to the GDP of this country. One of the key initiatives, for example, the subsidy on fertilizer, and it's a very welcome initiative, given that where we need to tackle all this is on input, one by one. So we'd like to thank you for that initiative. And like in the West, say in the US, where they've managed to lock that kind of subsidy over almost in perpetuity, I'd like to request, Mr. President, that this is kept on lock and key, and probably the key thrown away somewhere in oblivion. But if you look, Your Excellency, at the graph on the far side, maize, we still have a gap of about 10% that we still get from our neighboring countries, the Ugandas, the Tanzanias. That can actually be easily covered by us continue partnering with the farmers in the across the country to be able to improve this productivity. Still remains the continued fragmentation of the parcels of land, which then kills the productivity and efficiency that we want to achieve. Wheat, on the other hand, is still a big gap. We almost import almost 85, 90%. And we saw what the impact was when Ukraine was invaded. That I've seen the other day, you visiting Ethiopia, and the guys in Ethiopia have done a good job to be able to almost take care of 70% of their wheat usage. So it's up to us to go out there, learn the best practice to be able to cover this gap and to be able to feed our nation.
Your Excellency, we are honored today to have you here with us to discuss about manufacturing agenda 20 by 30. Please clap for the President for being with us. And for people who may not have heard that before, Vision 20 by 30 is manufacturing contributing 20% to the GDP by 2030. So, Your Excellency, without taking much time, Kenya is not doing very well from the Competitive Industrial Index by UNIDO. We rank 115 out of 152. May I remind you, Your Excellency, that the same was happening in the ease of doing business until your direct intervention, and I know because I was in that team, I was working for IBM then, that your direct brought down or improved the ease of doing business from 136 in 2014-2015 to position 56 in 2019. So the Competitive Industrial Index at 115, we just need to use the same template and the same blessing that you gave us to bring it forward to below 50, perhaps in 4 years. So that, I think, is one of the conversations that we could have.
We are number Africa in terms of livestock production. And when we think about all of us in terms of our intent with the cows that we have at home, it's either for milk or meat. Nobody thinks about the hide. We do everything that it takes to ensure they have all the nutrients, the salt, the protein, to produce sufficient yield in milk and to produce the best quality meat. But hide is an afterthought. Therein lies the opportunity. Now let's talk about what's the current state in terms of value addition proposition. So currently, as we speak, in terms of finished goods, as an industry, we only produce 4 million pairs of shoes. Only 4 million pairs of leather shoes. Let's look around the room. 95 of all the men in this wearing leather shoes. We have a population of 55 million people. You can do the math about what the proportion of men and women will be, because primarily most of the leather is produced for a couple of different categories. One is for men's dress shoes, men's casual shoes, you have school shoes. We have a population of 16 school-going kids. Their sizes change every 6 months or every year, depending on how big they are, pre-prep, primary or secondary. So we have 16 million school-going kids who are only consuming a fraction of the 4 million pairs of shoes that I talked about. From an export perspective, there is zero value addition. If you look at the chart there, in terms of what we export, our revenues are 15 billion shillings only. And out of that 15 billion, 89% of that is in the form of what we call wet blue. Wet blue is a processed form of raw hide that allows for preservation. So it ensures all the organic matters are removed in order so that it doesn't rot. So when you slaughter a cow, if you leave the hide there, it will rot. So it is processed in a tannery that ensures that it gets to a level of wet blue. So 89% of our exports is in wet blue. From a farmer's perception, a hide is worth 1/8 of the value of the cow. And that's the exports that we are exporting. So we have very trading areas after that we can trade with. The exports will move from 15 billion to about 75 billion. More importantly, from a people perspective, we currently have only 17,000 people in industry. Based on these simulations, we anticipate, based on that labor intensivity in the additional value addition, we can move to 100,000 people who are employed. And 100,000 people, 70% of these are in the informal sector, not the formal sector. Karioko, Kamukunji, all these hubs were very segmented or from fragmented industries. And we'll be able to strengthen the skills, because these are skills that require some form of competency in terms of product design, chemical engineering, tannery, leather technology, if you will. So it has a really good value proposition in terms of our young people having employment in an industry that has opportunities.
To have you join here to celebrate the role of micro, small, and medium enterprises in manufacturing and recognize SMEs who have demonstrated sheer efforts towards growth, resilience, excellence, and innovation. As Kenya Association of Manufacturers, we are cognizant of the role that MSC plays in the growth of this economy. As a result, we continuously hold them up and nurture them to grow their businesses, to take full advantage of new and emerging markets, frontiers, both locally and globally. Your Excellency, you have time and again spoken about your passion to turn around our economy. At the heart of this is the employment creation to the millions of youth without jobs, food security, and eradication of poverty, amongst others. We would like to assure you our commitment to support your cause, vision, and the plan. The share of manufacturing sector as a percentage of the GDP over the last few years has declined from 9.3% in 2016 to 7.2%, which clearly states
your outflow of US dollars goes less. The other cost that we don't realize is the substandard and falsified medicines. If this is not controlled, our healthcare costs will go up because of hospitalization. The other thing that was shown by some studies, that locally available, locally made medicines was readily available. Said that between 30% that is locally made and 70% which is imported, we wanted to change it around. Yeah? The same for the East African Community manufacturing plant. We want to change it around, and that's why we're here. What will this mean? Once we get an income, we get more factories, the costs become less because there's competition, there's innovation. This is what we need. The kind of medicines Africa needs is not the type of medicines that Western require. We have our own diseases, we have our own needs, and we need to innovate there. And that will only come through this growth, like India has shown.